In 1979, Stephen Sondheim composed the music and wrote the lyrics for a new musical entitled Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. The story dates back to a British newspaper serial that ran from 1846 to 47 called The String of Pearls. The musical has since become a smash hit and happens to be my all-time favorite musical. Ever since the story was first told, it has been told in many ways, some more subtle than others. In 2007, Tim Burton took a crack at telling the tale in his film adaptation. But how does it hold up? The plot depicts the story of Sweeney Todd, played by Johnny Depp, a barber who was convicted on a false charge so the corrupt Judge Turpin, played by Alan Rickman, could get at his wife. Todd returns to London and meets Mrs. Lovett, played by Helena Bonham Carter, an owner of a low-grade meat pie shop underneath what used to be Todd's parlor. Lovett tells Todd that his wife poisoned herself after being raped by the judge, and the judge now holds Todd's daughter, Joanna, as his ward. Todd then swears revenge on the judge and his beadle, played by Timothy Spall, and the whole city of London as well. His murders will then provide the new filling for Lovett's meat pies, which will soon be coveted by all of London. Tim Burton brings his trademark style and cinematography to Sweeney. It's always very gloomy, and Todd and Lovett have very pale skin with sullen eyes. In fact, mostly everyone has really pale skin. Must be the fact that in Burton's vision of London, it's never sunny. From what I understand, London can be a dreary city, but I doubt it's ever this bad. However, I think that the gloomy setting caters to the fact of the evil going on in this town, in which case it works well. The colors are all muted, with a few exceptions, which gives the film a very dismal tone. I like it. It's chock full of clever camera tricks and angles, showcasing large, fascinating sets, giving it that Tim Burton feel. There are many reasons why I love the musical Sweeney Todd. Let's go through a few of them and see how well the movie does compared to the original show and my standards. For this, I'll be giving each point a letter grade based on my feelings. To start, I love the music. Sweeney has some of the most unique music I've ever heard in a show. It can range from very fractured and psychotic to very dramatic with a lullaby tone, to very loud and joyous. Stephen Sondheim was heavily consulted by music producer Mike Higham, making Sweeney the second Burton film to not have music composed by the genius Danny Elfman. Being that Sondheim was a big part of Sweeney, the musical score checks out and gets an A from me. The opening credits features a hauntingly spectacular overture, which sets the tone for the whole film. However, the songs aren't quite so perfect, but we'll get to that later. Another reason I love Sweeney is that even though Todd and Lovett are doing horrible things, we can sympathize with them at times. So let's talk about the way the characters are portrayed. Johnny Depp does a surprisingly good job as Sweeney. He's a lot more brooding and quiet than he is in the shows, but I like that. There's a line in one of the original musical numbers, under his smile back of his words, Sweeney heard music that nobody heard. I reference this because Depp becomes a lot more expressive and bold when he's singing, which he does a really good job at. It's a very different sound to Sweeney, less operatic and more real, which I dig, though he's nowhere near as good as Len Carew. I do like the streak of white hair, though, like it symbolizes his mental instability. On the other hand, Helena Bonham Carter as Mrs. Lovett was disappointingly weak-spirited. Granted, Angela Lansbury is really over the top, but that's how Lovett is, a little bonkers. Carter was too quiet, too conservative, and has a meek singing voice. I knew she wouldn't be great after she failed to deliver the show-stopping Worst Pies in London. The funny thing is that she plays Bellatrix Lestrange in the Harry Potter movies. That's Mrs. Lovett. Carter should have been more like that. Alan Rickman does a very good job as the judge and has a very cool-sounding singing voice. But no matter how much I love Rickman, I can't help but seeing Hans Gruber and Severus Snape. It just seems like he's always playing the same role. Timothy Spall does a fair job as Beetle Bamford, but the Beetle is supposed to be more charming. Spall was just slimy, and his singing voice didn't impress me much either. Jamie Campbell-Bower plays Anthony, a sailor who rescues Todd at sea. He's okay. I don't have any strong complaints or praises for him. Jane Weisner plays Joanna, with a dainty singing voice of a Disney princess. God, I didn't like her in this role. However, the two showstoppers are Sacha Baron Cohen as Adolfo Pirelli and Ed Sanders as his boy servant, Toby. These two rock. Baron Cohen is brilliantly over the top as the fellow Barber Pirelli, and just a lot of fun to watch. I like that they picked a much younger child for the role of Toby, and Ed Sanders delivers 100%. He shines out in Not While I'm Around. He has quite a set of pipes. All in all, the cast is decent, but is a pretty mixed bag. I'll give them a B- overall. Now let's talk about the musical numbers. I already said how Worst Pies in London was a bitter disappointment, and Not While I'm Around steals the show, so let's move on. I can only guess that some of the songs are trimmed for time's sake, so a few of the musical numbers are shorter or missing entirely. Burton didn't want to include the Ballad of Sweeney Todd numbers, which I suppose wouldn't transfer as well into a film, but leaves the movie a little emptier. The musical numbers involving Joanna and Anthony's love affairs are all missing. In fact, Joanna and Anthony's romance is focused on far less than on the stage version. But perhaps my biggest gripe comes with the musical number A Little Priest, sung by Todd and Lovett. In the musical, it's a joyous number, loaded with humor, although it carries the sinister and murderous undertones the couple are plotting. It's a great number and a spectacular way to end the first act. But in this film, the number is edited so heavily that almost all of the humor is gone, and it's nowhere near as joyous. A Little Priest sucks in this version. But this version has my favorite renditions of Epiphany and Pretty Women. Depp gives Epiphany a really gritty and sinister tone, and Depp and Rickman are melodious splendor in their Pretty Women duet. All in all, I give the songs a B. I want to take a break now and talk about the blood. On stage, you really can't have a whole slew of blood. It's not practical or probable, but Burton wanted to bring together the horror genre and musical to its fullest potential. So he takes advantage of this by having, not joking, gallons of blood used in the deaths. He says it's more of a symbol of Sweeney's emotional release, which I get. Referring back to an original musical number, the more he bleeds, the more he lives. So I think the blood works with this adaptation and can be downright disgustingly fun. Sweeney is without a doubt the one true musical thriller. The biggest reason I love Sweeney Todd, though, is the story. So many movies and stories showcase revenge to be a great thing, like the Death Wish films. You wrong me, I kill you, and it is justified. But in Sweeney, it shows that revenge will lead you to nowhere but your own downfall. I feel that Burton acknowledges that perfectly, and that comes out clearly. An A+ for that factor. So let's analyze Sweeney Todd as a whole. The musical score is great, but the musical numbers are lacking in some departments. Some of the actors do great with their roles, while others are average to poor. The cinematography is grand, but can get too dismal and gloomy. I've said that Sweeney Todd is one of my favorite films, and it is, but it's not really as great or as perfect as I thought it was when I first saw it. I give this film an overall grade of a solid B. It's not perfect, but could have been a lot worse, and I think it does a relatively marvelous job, and it's definitely one of the finest movie musicals we've seen in a long time. That is my diagnosis.